That's the profile we're rocking right there, if you're tracking. Yep. Yeah, not bad. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be doing an unboxing of the Blackmagic Pocket, nope, not a Pocket, Cinema Camera 6K full frame. That's right, let's get into it. Quick look at all of the specs on the top here. Now, I won't touch on all of the features that this camera is capable of because there's already a ton of videos out there that's doing that. In this video, I'm really just giving you my impressions of how this camera feels in comparison to the previous Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. Like myself, I'm currently shooting this video off of a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. And when I came across this camera, I initially noticed that it was noticeably bigger or taller. I think it's the same width, but I noticed it was taller and I wondered if that made it look just a little too chunky for my preference or what the case may be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it and see what all comes in the box. Looks like you get your different adapters for however you'll be charging this. I'll set that to the side. You get your DaVinci Resolve studio code, some stickers, which is always nice. Who doesn't love a good sticker? And then your 12-volt power cable is right here. And then you get a strap for the camera itself. All right, so I'll take that out. And underneath, we get a way to charge the battery that comes with this device. In this case, the battery is already in the camera. And then this is what you would use to plug in that to the wall in order to charge the device. But I'll go ahead and now take this out of the box and move that out of the way. So that's some massive fans right there. I noticed this thing packs some weight in comparison to the previous Pocket. It's a little heavier. All right, but this is it when it's all said and done. Got your ports on the side, 2 screws instead of 1 on the bottom. So a nice change there. Battery compartment. But yeah, all right. I do notice it's a little heavier in the hand. That's one of my first thoughts in comparison to the previous Pocket. It does look like this is a bit taller, but again, I do think the width of the camera is the same. I'm sort of eyeballing it with my Pocket Cinema Camera in front of me. But yeah, I do notice that at the top here, we have the mounting screw hole. So that's more so closer to the front as opposed to this compartment right here, which is what you would use to mount the optional EVF that you can pick up for this camera. So interesting. With this particular model, since this is, has the same body as the G2 Pro, essentially, you get this nice flip out hinge display for the screen itself. And so that's pretty cool. Slide that back up there. So you get some flexibility with the screen as opposed to it being fixed on the previous Pocket Cinema cameras. That's nice. Some briefly nice things about this camera that actually attracted me is the fact that, hey, it's got a nice huge full frame sensor and it's rocking an L mount, which means you have tons of lens compatibility, whether that's using APS-C glass or if you're throwing on full frame glass, you have that flexibility as well as to leverage this 6K sensor as opposed to the 4K sensor in the Pocket 4K. But everything feels familiar. Like if you've used the Pocket Cinema Camera in the past, you'll notice the function buttons are in a similar spot, as well as these other menu buttons at the back. All of that is pretty whatnot. I did notice that they changed this card slot over here. Instead of having an SD card slot that you can slide in there, you have a CFast Express slot. So if that suits your needs, I believe it might be faster than SSDs. Me personally, I haven't used them, so I'm not too sure. I like using SSDs because, you know, it's just, you get fast speeds, cheap prices, and more storage. So hard to beat, but they can break on you if you're out in the field and doing some run and gun stuff. So it's usually best to do internal recording when you're using something like that, as opposed to doing an external cable that can get nicked and lose your footage. But overall, it's nice. It's not unbearable as I thought it might have been. Like the Pocket 6K Pro, I was just, as nice as it was in the specs that it had on paper, I wasn't looking to go for it because it had that huge snout in my mind that just was just really unpleasing. You know, the form factor of these cameras are already bulky as it is, and to have a snout that you can't even optionally get rid of, I just didn't want to go that route. Though, if you don't mind the snout, you can find some really good deals on those on eBay or elsewhere. But another cool aspect of this device is the fact that in terms of port capacity, you do get an additional mini XLR port, which means you could have 2 XLR inputs coming into this microphone, into this camera, and you can capture both of those audios. If you're doing something like a podcast environment, that would be pretty useful on this model as opposed to the current Pocket 4K. Another change to this device that I find pretty pleasing is the fact that if you take a look at the display here, the brightness is actually, well, first you can see these are the recording modes. So that's nice, goes all the way up to 6K open gate, which means you can leverage the entire ratio of the sensor, that 3:2 ratio, which is really nice. But another aspect that's pretty cool is the fact that if I come over here to monitor, you'll see the brightness. I'm only at 25% right now. Probably still brighter than the screen on my Pocket 4K that I'm looking at in front of me. But this can go all the way up to 1500 nits. Now that's probably getting a little hard for the camera to see because of how bright it is. But yeah, that's just to show you how much flexibility you have. So you don't have to really worry about not being able to see your image when you're out in the field in broad sunlight recording. 1500 is probably more than enough to get you to do whatever it is you're doing. Lastly, I will throw a lens on this guy and just I'll give you a look at what that looks like. So this is the Sigma f1.4 24mm lens. And this is what that looks like. That's that's pretty stank. That's the profile we're rocking right there, if you're tracking. Yep. This is essentially how this would look. It's not bad. And I personally find it comfortable to hold. Now, essentially, I wouldn't hold this for an hour or so, but it's you have a good way to be able to nicely support the camera as well as adjust the lens, the focus gear on the lens as needed to ensure whatever you're filming is in focus. But yeah, not bad. One of the things that are just a given with Blackmagic cameras is the simplicity of their menu system that just makes changing and adjusting whatever it is you need to do so easy. But yeah. All right, folks. Well, that does wrap up my first initial impressions of the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K full frame. First thoughts is not bad of the device. I would like to see if and when PodTech that previously released the mod kit for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, they come out with the mod for this. That would make this a really interesting upgrade and just really future-proof self-filming setup that I typically use here within my environment. But there you have it, folks. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and consider subscribing to stay tuned for more future videos. And if you are curious at all about checking out this device, I will have affiliate links in the description. As always, thanks for viewing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.